Let's kick off Pro Soccer Talk this week and focus on the first big segment, which is the Champions League semi-finals. It's now set. We know who are going to be playing each other. Well, now let's focus on those two matchups. Obviously, it's Manchester City against Real Madrid, Liverpool against surprise package Villarreal. And also let's touch on who are the favourites now to win the Champions League. But Andy, Man City, Real Madrid, I mean, this is an epic clash. Two of the favourites today obviously should potentially be the final, many would say. But do we see Karim Benzema doing to Man City what he did to Chelsea in the quarterfinals? Because that was just impressive, right? He was the difference between Chelsea and Real Madrid and why Real Madrid are playing City in the semi-finals. So Man City kind of edged their way in past Atletico and just did what they had to do in a very tricky situation, which Atletico always create in these knockout games. But what are you looking forward to heading into that game? Because there's so many storylines between City and Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think if you take these two teams and you compare them 1 through 11, 1 through 18, 1 through the bottom of the entire squad, you probably say, oh, this is Manchester City every single time. But I think the one difference in these teams, or maybe not the difference, but the equalizer between these teams in a cup competition is Karim Benzema and the form that he is in the Champions League this season. You know, over 180 minutes, one player can kind of drag a team over a better team and advance them in the knockout stages. That doesn't quite work the same in over 38-game season when you're trying to win your domestic league. And so you put these two together with just 180 or maybe 210, if we're lucky, minutes that they're going to play against each other. And Karim Benzema needs 2 or 3 moments of real true quality to lift Real Madrid and to put Manchester City their backs up against the wall, because I think that's the one thing that we've seen through Manchester City's Champions League run so far this season, as we know they're very good defensively. They've done that in the Premier League all season. They've managed to score enough goals domestically, but I still worry a little bit about what they've got up top. And so when you compare these two teams, that one position, if everything else is fairly similar, I think it's a slight edge to Manchester City elsewhere, but if it's fairly similar, and then you've got that one player up top who makes the difference for one team and doesn't make the difference for the other team, I still feel pretty good about picking Real Madrid a few weeks ago when we picked the Champions League winner before the round of 16 started. And even though they have to go through Manchester City, I think I still feel pretty good about it now.
Yeah, it was a great call back then. And I think we've just seen what experience can get you, right? With not just Benzema, but Toni Kroos, Modric, Casemiro. They've all won the Champions League with Real. They've all just had that extra experience at this stage of a tournament. And as we know, Man City have never done it. And that's the holy grail for them. This is the trophy they want to win. A lot of their players haven't been there and actually done it before. So that could be the X factor, I think, in this game. It'll be really tight all over the pitch. Like you said, Andy, I think City do have the edge in terms of overall quality, 1 to 18. But then Real Madrid, if their key contributors play as well as they did against Chelsea, then I think they can get them over the line again. Nick, what do you think about this matchup, City-Real Madrid? Do you think it would be a similar kind of tie to the one that Real Madrid just had against Chelsea and the way that they played?
I don't want to sound rude, but if it is, I think they lose by 4. I think their best hope is to do something like Atletico Madrid tried to do. They were some of the most boring games of my life. And I should say this, I would go as far as to say I'm a Simeone admirer. I like a lot of players on the team, but I found myself so disappointed that a team with that caliber of talent just wouldn't try and go get it except on the counter, even when they were down 1-0. That's a little bit oversimplifying yesterday because they wanted to fight as well, or not yesterday, when it would have been earlier this week. But I just think that Man City over 2 legs isn't losing to anyone in the world. Anyone in the world. Not Liverpool, not Real Madrid. And that's why we can hope that this final maybe is Liverpool-Man City. That's what I learned from the weekend. It's what I learned from every time I watch them play. Atleti, you have to be clinical in how you get them, and then you have to be clinical the next time you play them. And the one thing I learned from Real Madrid, and the only thing, because Andy's right, I mean, they have so much explosiveness. They have tenacity. They have guys learning how to be the new Casemiro. You know what they don't have? The new Sergio Ramos. And if I'm Pep Guardiola and I'm watching that tape of that last game, as good as Chelsea's been, reigning champs, I'm licking my lips about playing that back line.
I think the key thing in that second leg was like Militao being out, right, and being suspended. That hurt Real pretty much. That was pretty disastrous for them at the back, and they looked much better in the first leg. But even in the first leg against Chelsea, Nick, you're right. Real gave up a lot of chances at Stamford Bridge. So I think City will favour themselves. And we've seen Pep Guardiola really surprise a few people with his selections, being slightly more defensive in certain games. But then there's a plan, I think, for the 180 minutes over the two legs to play, Foden, De Bruyne, Grealish one game, well, Mahrez, Sterling, Jesus the other. And when you've got that many different options in the way they play and the way they play together, then I feel like City just have enough in the tank here to get past Real Madrid. But let's always go back to that. Benzema, when he's on the form that he is, Modric can put a pass on an absolute dime for him. Then there's always danger here because Carlo Ancelotti can usually set up a team to defend well, right, Andy? So
and let's not make it out to be Benzema against the world. Vinicius Jr. is having the breakout season that we've been waiting for 3 or 4 seasons. He's got the goals, he's got the assists, and I think, and just with the form and the understanding that he's obviously built up with Benzema this season, I guess I look at that duo of those two, and I say, okay, Kevin De Bruyne and who? For me, like, what is the opposite number of those two? Because it feels like it's on a game-to-game basis. Somebody always steps up for Man City. 99% of the time, somebody steps up into that role. It just feels a little bit, I guess, more worrisome looking forward and projecting and trying to kind of predict and preview it to not know who that's going to be.
That's very true. That's the beauty of this game. I think there could be so many match winners on both teams. It could be someone that, they all have the quality to be the key player to decide who goes to the final. So, it's going to be, again, I think, like the recent Liverpool-Man City clashes we've seen, high quality, high caliber, great tempo to these games, and the very small margins will determine who reaches the Champions League final. So, going to be a great matchup there between Manchester City and Real Madrid. And on the other side of the bracket, Liverpool against Villarreal. I mean, Jurgen Klopp's side heavily favoured. They must have obviously been thinking they'll be playing Bayern Munich at the semi-final stage, and that's going to be really tough. I mean, will they ease through, Nick Mendola? I mean, are we going to see an Unai Emery masterclass here? And Villarreal have to go to Anfield in the first leg. So it's quite good at going to places and getting some shutouts, as we've seen over the years of many, many teams. But this is Liverpool, and they're absolutely flying right now.
It's so weird because it's the Benzema story that Andy told, except it's not a player. It's a guy who just knows how to win tournament football games. And this isn't, let's not say that Villarreal is bereft of talent, right? I mean, they have players, and especially center backs, who Premier Leagues have been targeting the transfer mill for approximately, 2 years. So, but then you look at, there's guys there's a former Cherry there. There's Coquelin. There are guys in the Premier League, and he is just getting the best out of these players. So giving all that preamble, if you're a Liverpool fan, you're like, is Mendola just building me up to tell me that my team's going to lose? No, absolutely not. I'm ready for the final, as you can tell from my first thing. I think that Liverpool is at the point where it can throw out its B+ game in terms of everything, because it's never going to throw anything worse than an A- out in attack. The finish may not always happen, but again, over 2 legs, if Villarreal does this, then it's not owing them an apology. It's celebrating them as perhaps the best tournament team that we've seen in a long time.
It's true, because obviously reigning Europa League champions, the way that they they're built for this, right? It feels like this group of players, they're going to, bend but not break. They are resilient. They, as you said, the defensive players there are quality, and you've got just tough guys. Etienne Capoue, obviously Coquelin. You've got Lo Celso, who's been given a second lease of life after leaving Tottenham Hotspur. And there's just something about them that I feel like Liverpool fans will be a little bit uneasy being the favourites. Yes, they'll be happier to get Villarreal in the semi-finals, but Andy, do you agree with that a little bit, that maybe this is just something Liverpool should be a bit wary about, Villarreal? And there's something about the almost the team of destiny, right? And the way Unai Emery has led them, and they have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain, where the opposite is true for Liverpool.
Yeah, they're in a European semifinal. They should worry a little bit about whoever they're going to play, whoever got to that point. Obviously, quality, and you're right to mention last year's Europa League winners and everything. And I'm just looking down the team, and the island of misfit toys is kind of the way that I would almost describe this team, because you're right, it's a lot of second and third chances for players that we've seen in the Premier League, players that we've seen at other big clubs around Europe, and it just hasn't worked for whatever reason. And so Unai Emery, I think, has got them. I think it's a mentality thing with them as much as anything, because obviously there's talent there. There's talent in almost every single team across the entire continent of Europe. But I think when you have the collective belief and the same ideas and everybody pulling in the same direction, the way that they're doing clearly at Villarreal right now, just given the 18 to 24 month run that this club is on, and that's sustained success, by the way. Like that's something that we lose kind of sight of, I think, when teams, let's take Ajax as an example from a few years ago, they make a deep run into the Champions League, get all the way there to the semifinals, they go out to Spurs the way that they do, and then they just kind of disappeared back into the shadows of in European competition terms, and we've not really heard a ton from them since. And so I think Villarreal have the ability to sustain that, just given the manager that they had. And I think that's a great point from Nick, is Emery has made an entire career out of typically winning the Europa League, but now making a push for the Champions League. My only question is, and I guess it's a bit of banter, it's maybe having a little bit of a dig, if they were to go on, reach the final even, let alone win this, how bad will Arsenal fans feel that they had this man in their club a couple of years ago and said, no, thanks. We don't like you. We hate you, essentially. Like, the fans were done with him so quickly after success in Europe. He leaves. He goes and has more success. I don't know. I don't think they're going to beat Liverpool in semifinal over 180 minutes. It's a really, really big ask, because that front five now from Liverpool, 5 players competing for 3 spots. I don't know how you stop that.
That's very true. Couple final points on Villarreal for me, because we all know how great Liverpool are and they're the huge favourites. When you look at Unai Emery, I feel like there's something that Newcastle came in for him and he spoke to them mid-season. It's almost like a confidence boost that Newcastle, we know with their resources, could have basically gone for any manager in the world, but they chose to go for Unai Emery. And I think that gives him a confidence boost, not only in his own ability, but for Villarreal and the players to say, okay, this coach is very, very highly regarded, that this is the kind of thing that's happening. And on the other side of it, they have extra motivation because they are probably not going to finish in the European places in La Liga. So if they want to be playing in Europe next year, they're going to have to win the Champions League. That's just the way it is. So don't underestimate how much of that is a carrot dangling, as great as this would be and huge of an upset. If these players want to be playing in Europe next season, they're going to have to win the whole thing. But final thought on Liverpool for me, again, I think the rotation, the fact that they could rest 7 of their starters in the Champions League quarterfinal against Benfica, still ease through, shows you the strength and depth they have. Defensively, so strong, so solid. And I think they just have too much going forward for this Villarreal team. But I think it will be a lot tighter than we all think. And I can definitely see Villarreal going to Anfield and maybe going back to Spain with a draw, and then forcing Liverpool to really go at them in the second leg, and what an occasion that will be. Okay, gents, let's put all of this in the mix and decide, are we sticking with our favourites? I know, Andy, you said Real Madrid were the favourites. Pretty sure Nick and I said Man City a few weeks ago. Personally, I'm sticking with Man City, but Andy, who are your favourites right now to win the Champions League?
Yeah, it's still Real Madrid for me. I think that what we saw from them against Chelsea in the second leg, it was a little bit worrisome, but I'm going to write that off to obviously Chelsea, a very talented team and a desperate team at that point. And so they were able to do what I think a lot of teams aren't able to do, and that's throw caution to the wind and say, hey, we're going out if we don't try to go win this. So let's try to go win this. And they just about did. They gave them something to think about. But I think the experience that we've talked about, the Benzema factor, the Vinicius breakout season, maybe a month from now, we're talking about, oh, Vinicius is one of the top 10 players in the world because of what he did this season and down the stretch of the Champions League. So I'll stick with Real Madrid.
You need that as well, right, from a player just to take it by the scruff of the neck every game and say, this is my tournament and I'm going to finish this off and win it for my team. It feels like there's always somebody that just does that every season, be it Lewandowski or even Pulisic, you could argue, did that for Chelsea last season down the stretch. I'm just going to go when I say Man City, I just want to just make one point. I was a bit worried with how they played it against Atletico over the 2 legs, but the fact they came through that in the quarterfinal, that proved to me that they're learning. And I think a few years ago, Man City would have actually lost that quarterfinal tie, but they're finding a way to grind it out. And even if they're not at their free-flowing best, they're proven, I think they've learned from past experiences where they lost to Chelsea in the final last year and they weren't as patient and maybe a bit too gung-ho and got caught out. I like that I've seen that from City this season. Even without Ruben Diaz for these big games, they found a way to be more solid. But Nick, you went with Man City, right? Are you sticking with that?
Oh, boy. I'm starting to get to the point where here's what I think we ought to do. We ought to just predict the final, because I'm so nervous about those two teams over 90 minutes or 120 minutes and what can happen. I do think both Premier League sides will go to an All Premier League final for the second year in a row.
Okay.
Then there will be questions about. I mean, look, Liverpool and Real Madrid are two clubs more than anyone perhaps on earth that, for teams that actually treat their big domestic competition like it matters, somehow treat the Champions League like it's more important. You know, Real Madrid, who won until 10 years ago, all of their trophies when like 3 teams were in the competition. This is such a part of their lore. I can remember the first Liverpool song that I heard from Liverpool fans, like kind of in person. And that one was counting their trophies, like in this sort of grandiose, this is so important to us. And the European Cups were more important. So I think there's a pressure there. What I worry about for Man City, though, isn't about pressure. It's about, we have seen 2 teams in Man City and Liverpool operating at their impossible to be A+ game for as good as they are, because City doesn't have the reliable center forward to make the plan around. In Liverpool, whatever their hole is, whether it's Jordan Henderson or whoever is next to Van Dijk or Trent Alexander-Arnold at the back, they just give up so many chances. So I will tell you I'm comfortable saying that will be the final. I'm going to tell you I think Man City's going to win, but what's my reasoning? Because that's what I've been picking. That's my reasoning.
Yeah, you know, I was on the train to Manchester ahead of Man City Liverpool, and I was speaking to some fans of both teams. I was sat around a table with them. I said, okay, what do you guys prefer, Champions League or Premier League? You know what? Both sets of fans said I'd rather win the Premier League. And the Liverpool fans' reason was, I've seen it win so many Champions Leagues in my lifetime. It's fine.
Man. So Liverpool.
Riled up the Man City fans, and then they said, oh, yeah, but we just, you know, you proved you're the best team over the course of the season if you won the Premier League. I think from their point of view, City have been hurt so much in the Champions League in recent years that they're trying to downplay it, I think, some of their fans. But no doubt about it, it's epic. We're at the semi-final stage of the Champions League. Real Madrid against Man City, Villarreal against Liverpool, 2 Spanish-English clashes. And over on Pro Soccer Talk and NBCSports.com, we'll keep you updated all the latest news around those games, how to watch. And it's going to be an absolutely tremendous occasion to see who can reach the Champions League final in Paris at the end of this season.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.